Hello, everyone. A warm welcome to those of you who haven't been us for the first session of the Polar Talks, and to all the rest of you, a warm welcome again. So, we're on for today's most important event, I would say, and for us to be able to hear what Mr. Wayne Shorter has to say, not only about music, but everything around it. Because Wayne Shorter, to him, music is a means of learning more about aspects of life and universe. And he has himself aptly described his work as drilling for wisdom. As a solo artist, he has been making albums now for 6 decades, and without the musical explorations of Wayne Shorter, modern music would not have drilled so deep. The world-famous Wayne Shorter, the Polar Music Prize laureate, will shortly be interviewed by Miriam Aida, music journalist and jazz musician. But before they enter the stage, we will enjoy wonderful music by Thai-Swedish singer-composer Sirintip.
Is a dream. guess life is a dream. Come on, it's a dream. Dream. It's a dream. It's a dream. 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 Dream.
Tack så mycket. Filip Ekestubbe, Nolan Burr på trummor, Sirin Tipp. Tack så mycket.
Thank you for that beautiful performance. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage music journalist and jazz musician Miriam Aida and the one and only Mr. Wayne Shorter.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for joining us here at the Polar Talks 2017, and thanks for amazing music. It's a great privilege to welcome you to Stockholm, Mr. Shorter, and it's an honor that you are bringing your light to the Polar Prize this year. You have a life in music that is so colorful, and you've been part of a fast evolving jazz history during more than 6 decades. So you're the man of the past, living in the present, walking in the future, and I would like to take this opportunity to do some kind of time travel with you here today. Yeah. Would like to ask you, starting in the present, what are your food for thoughts these days?
What I think about today is when someone asks Duke Ellington what was his favorite composition, he said, or any favorite composition, he would say, the next one. So the next one is the challenge. The next, with the support of the past, and nothing is wasted. And nothing, to me, I said nothing is discarded, and nothing should be like really looked down on as far as all of the history of say, the arts and music and the Beethoven period and Mozart and all that. I have one of his condensed scores with me now. It was Beethoven's Symphony in A. My wife has it in her pocketbook. And it's...
She's watching it with her life,
yeah.
Mr. Shorter, I'm sure.
And I like it when Joni Mitchell made an album dedicating some music to Charlie Mingus, and she used the phrase, I want to duff my hat to certain people like Charlie Mingus and Lester Young, or and continue, for me, it's continuing a mission, this so-called mission, and I joke about the mission by saying, I'm going to go on with this mission and go down with it like the Titanic.
But Mr. Shorter, I'm curious about jazz. What role do you think it has or plays in the collective consciousness of today?
Well, jazz has always had a sort of a dialectic constitution that's being written every time someone takes a solo. And every time a group of people played as an ensemble with written music or without written music. And jazz, to me, the meaning of jazz has so many tributaries as far as the meaning. It's like jazz can mean I dare you, Jazz means let's go outside and play. Jazz, a lot of times I say Mozart was a jazz musician too. Mozart, his G minor 40 has that cymbal beat, you know. And so was Beethoven, you know, starting the anacrusis stuff. It's all, I have a record coming out soon, and it's called Emanon, which is no name backwards. I like that name because Dizzy Gillespie did something called Emanon back in the early bebop days. And for my own conversation, when I talk to myself, I said, we get in trouble when we start to name things. And the name transcends and supersedes the meaning, and the meaning gets lost. And just like two astronauts said, I heard two astronauts say, when they took off from Earth and went further and further and further away, and Earth got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and it looked like a little blue marble. And they said one said to the other, imagine, I'm that little blue marble, two people fighting over a parking space. Two countries. So this is what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
What is it for, and like, what is anything for?
I was thinking about, because I read in an article in Mercury News about where you talk about your quartet, that you have reached a place, a fearless place, where you don't fear the unknown. And for me, a fearless place is synonymous to freedom and peace. And I think that all people are looking for freedom and peace in certain levels in their lives, through life. And I would like to ask, what fears has been most challenging to you in your life?
What has been most challenging is everything, like moving forward. It's challenging not to abstain in life, to abstain from things. Like, if I talked about abstention, or said something, and Miles Davis would be standing here, and I'd talk about abstaining, it's not good to abstain, and talk about why, he would say, why don't you play that? Play the answer. Play the dialogue of it. So I knew that when bebop came along, also a lot of the music from Debussy and contemporary, it signifies to me social movement, people movement, humanity. If we take away the name of something, we have to do something more about meaning. And a lot of people want the name to do the work. And you hire people to do false things based on knee-jerk names. That's why I like when Stevie Wonder said, what is blue? And in English, it's hard to find a word to rhyme with orange. The fruit orange. I said, like, what is purple?
So the freedom that you are looking for
So this
now.
is a challenge.
That's a challenge, and also to stand up and beat the fears makes you move on.
Yes, the challenge is to me is how do you move on? Meaning, how do you negotiate the unexpected and deal with, not strategize, but interact with the unknown, which is about to come upon us pretty soon. They're talking about the multiverse instead of the universe, which the multiverse has, all the laws in the multiverse have nothing to do with this quantum physics and everything. There's something, dark matter and all that, which pushes against gravity or that we know about. So we were invited to Stanford University by physicists there, and they said, we, meaning our families, all of us, Herbie too, and his band, his family, his wife, and they said, the reason why we invited you to Stanford and our laboratories, because we were going to talk about improvisation in science, in life. And
There are some beautiful things
Yeah.
happening now. There are a lot of consciousness in the same time where there are happening a lot of difficult things on Earth. We are having a difficult time. But you know,
Yeah.
Mr. Shorter, there are so many interesting things I would like to discuss with you, and I'm sure that, you know, time will never be enough. And I'm also sure that many of us here today would like to rewind the tape a little bit and hear your stories. So if we rewind us back to Newark in the 40s, can you tell us who was the boys, two boys, Mr. Weird and Dr. Strange?
in the 1940s, who were,
Mr. Weird and Dr. Strange.
oh, when I was about 15, I got a clarinet. My brother was given an alto saxophone. And on his saxophone case, he painted the words Doc Strange. And I painted on my clarinet case, Mr. Weird. And my brother, he liked Doc Strange because Doc Strange didn't have the Superman, Captain Marvel and all that. But he followed through with, when we had a small band, 9 people, we, like being strange and weird, we were sort of learning about music, but when we played at the dances, or the YMCA, they call it, we had maybe 10 people there, and we had not music stands, but we'd have like the New York Times, to take a chair and turn it around, the New York Times, and playing by memory what, you know, the bebop songs. Just play, and we would wear, when the sun was shining, we had galoshes, and my brother carried his saxophone in a shopping bag and played the song with gloves on. So we were trying to push the point about changing things. So
Did you continue that?
it's still here.
Yeah.
And what I remember about those days is there was a vacant lot that we used to go play in a vacant lot. And that vacant lot became, he was Doc Strange in the vacant lot, and I was Mr. Weird. And the other kids, it would become Mars or an ocean or this and that. And we'd play in this lot all day. And our parents would come home from shopping. In the summertime, we had no school. We play all day. And they come home, and they see us at the end of the day in the shopping bags, and they asked us, "What were you doing?" And we say, "Nothing." And to this day, I want to see what that nothing is. I want to see what that is. Because a lot of us lose that. We hand it over. We give it. What were you doing all day? Nothing. But I do remember we were playing, not fighting. with the kids in the neighborhood. We were playing. Some of the gangs came along later on. You know, there's a gang from New York. I lived in New Jersey. The gang, they called it, there's this gang from Brooklyn called the Jolly Stompers. They said, get you on the ground, stomp you to death. And they had a girl gang called the Jolly something else. And, but my brother and I and people, we didn't get involved with that. We were slowly getting into what Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, Thelonious Monk, Bud Powell, Max Roach, what they were talking about, and science fiction.
And then then you became the Flash from Newark.
Oh, the Flash.
Have you seen the new series, The Flash?
Yes.
Yes? Do you like it?
Yeah. I saw the Flash. We used to read the comic books, The Flash, and they're still working on how to. I think it's some nice stuff that they're doing, but they're still looking for if they can get out of the blockbuster, bubble. Because I know that also science fiction and the imaginative world, you can make a bubble around yourself with that too, instead of the straight world. Only you say, oh, straight people, they live in a bubble. You know, they're you know.
But when you were, when you made your voice heard and known as the Flash from Newark in New York City, there was some years that you were joining bands as a sideman, but actually the musicians were expressing themselves through your music. So you were a sideman, but at the same time a role as a artistic director, right?
Yes, yeah,
Blakey and
yeah, that. But you know, now Art Blakey used to announce me as the musical director, and or I wrote a lot of the music, or not all of it, but a lot. But the group we have now, when we started out maybe 15 years ago. Some of the critics would watch us, and they would say, "Who's the leader? Which one is, you know?" And I wanted that to happen. It seems like everyone has qualities of being leaders, and I'm always thinking about that's what we need more. We need more leaders instead of followers, you know, And when someone tries to push against that and say, well, if you have too many cooks in the kitchen, makes a, well, say, well, if the kitchen is the whole universe, that's what I'm talking about.
I'm curious, The Messengers was one of the pioneers spreading jazz and the message all over the world. But what was it like to be a black musician touring at that time?
To be a what?
A black musician
A
touring.
black musician.
Yeah.
It felt like a name didn't mean anything. If what you look like does not describe what you do, if the way you look dominates what you do at your profession, that is a drawback. But if your profession, you have to use everything at your command to express what you feel is justice and freedom. And when we traveled, sometimes the plane would have a lot of turbulence, and Art Blakey would say, "Don't worry, gentlemen. We have a message to deliver. Nothing's going to happen with it." And Art Blakey read only one magazine that he got from Washington, D.C. And he and his wife, I'm still with the word, well, black, his wife, they would talk about world events. We all got together in their home in Vermont. And his wife would say, everyone's looking at Batista and Castro, Fidel Castro. We got to keep your eye on Trujillo. And somebody in Haiti and all that, keep your eye on that. And that's the kind of environment I was in, and I grew up in this kind of environment with my parents. And what was it like being a black musician? Never became a part of my, what do you call it? Like you have a movie and you have a trailer. And people show the trailer and never see the movie. Being a black musician, think the trailer. I'm talking about the movie. So we, even with Miles's band, when we walked on stage with Miles, people would say, "Here comes royalty." I can say this now, say, "Here comes royalty." But we didn't let it go to our head that we were better than other black people or any other people or this person and that person. Because I watched movies when I was 15, 16, 17. A lot of them from here, Ingmar Bergman, and I did, without reading the subtitles, every Saturday I'd see all these movies from Sweden, Italy, and all that, watching, and learning what's going on with Madame Boulanger, and teaching composition and all kinds of things. So Irish, German, these words, I never used these words, but the conditions in the United States, even to this day, you're forced to look at what needs to be we call it in the philosophy I'm working in, changing poison to medicine. And what needs to be used to transform negative into positive. So in creating value, I would not get stuck with the name black, white, or anything like that. But it's only challenge. And when you're trying to create value, you will meet great resistance. It's easy to rob a bank or slap a woman around or something like that, but it's hard to do something to have the market embrace music that's and art and all that, and people who look at and all that, to embrace each other and all that. and you get resistance from false doctrines and all that. But I don't get into the blame game, because an airplane needs resistance to take off. You say, you're talking about Tai Chi? No, I'm talking something deeper than that. I'm talking about enlightenment. So, and
That's beautiful.
to be fearless.
To be fearless, yeah. To find freedom. Well, I've been thinking about, in the beginning and the mid-'60s, there was some fast. Yes, I'm changing frame, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
There was some really fast, high-speed developing in the music. There was a shift from the swing and what we know as the American songbook and the standard repertoire, moving on to original compositions. And what happened there and then, going from developing the bebop with very complex chord progressions, like Giant Steps or Children of the Night, for example. And then the music took another direction into more modal zone. What we hear, and Juju came, and All Seeing Eye, and also the Messengers Free for All, where you have a couple of compositions. What happened?
Actually,
It was just some short time, things were happening so fast.
I think when we start to realize something, and you know that you're kind of almost alone in taking the trail less traveled, rather than taking the trail that's crowded with wannabes and instant gratificationers and all that. That trail's, the trail less trodden, less traveled, takes you to places much more interesting, and allows me to see the trail most traveled for what it really represents. To me, that represents a temporary something that has an illusion of well-being and
Like a
well-fed
transit.
Yes, and lots of money and fame and everything like that. But that's temporary. And the fear of death is always waiting at the end of that, running out of money. So I get more money, so I have to think about dying. But death, to me, has to do with knowing more about death and life. It's taking that trail less traveled, which has to do with
But then
transcending everything false and illusions.
so this transformation
Yes, it's something that's
in life, but also in music, to go
Yeah.
this
the road of the
The
constant,
yeah.
rather than the temporary. A constant, and a constant has to do with eternity. And dying is temporary, but the longevity of the whole of life is a constant, and that's our great adventure. So when we started to move fast and learn things that are doing bebop and what you call fusion and everything like that, that has to do with going forward, because to gather more knowledge about what it means to be more and more and more and more human. I think that's an eternal adventure where it's surprise, 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 surprise. I dare you. I dare me. I have to look in the mirror and say that.
So this looking for the true self.
Yes, and that's when these things come fast. You go, this period modal, those are little,
So things are starting to happening.
Yeah. And that's like petrol, gas.
So the fuel, the gas, was
Yes.
it curiosity? Is it curiosity about what is there? What is over there? Let's go around the corner. Let's go look. Is it curiosity
Yeah.
that is the fuel for you?
I play this little game with myself. I say, what is the meaning of life? Then I say, you play a game. What is the meaning of life? Who's on first?
Well, I would love
What's
to.
his name? You know,
I think,
yeah.
that's the question. That's the question that we've been asking ourselves for, all the time.
Yeah.
And it's not a linear thing. It's not a start and an ending. It's like a circular movement.
Yeah.
And I know that you are, for many years ago, I don't know for how long, you've been practicing Buddhism. What has it made to your music when you started to learn more about Buddhism and this philosophy?
Well, one thing I know that music, poetry, and art is very nice, and I think it will not change the world.
Damn.
It will not change the world. It's the person playing the music, painting, the person doing inventions and making things, the child finding out what, that changes. Here's what I like. When you train like a little puppy to not to go to the bathroom in the house, you use a paper and you say, don't, and the puppy barks at the paper. In human life, there's a lot of paper that we're barking at. And the lion tamer, we're barking at the whip, but not the tamer. That's something. And I like what Einstein said about complex music, complex things and simple things. I like what he said. He said, we need simplicity, yes. We need complexity. And we need some simplicity. But no simpler.
So
This is for the corporate world.
And this piece that you wrote, if we're walking into the future, it's a piece for your quartet, the new recording. And there is no paper that barking, because it doesn't have any name.
Emanon.
Yeah.
And this is going to come out, this record's coming out with, we've made a record with the Orpheus Chamber Orchestra Ensemble. And it's coming out with a graphic science fiction novel in a package. And the novel is called Emanon. It's multiverses, 4 universes. One universe, but you'll see. It's,
Yes.
it's not the music, the album is not a soundtrack for the graphic novel or comic book. But it's something, the graphic novel was, Don Was producer. He produced a lot of things and everything, Rolling Stones and all that. He's been on tour recently now with Willie Nelson. He's a bass player. But Don Was is now the president of Blue Note Records. it was his idea. He said, hey, why don't we get a graphic sci-fi novel in there?
And you said,
So,
but what inspired you to write this piece for the ensemble and your quartet?
well, there's quite a bit of music in this next album. It's the quartet with the Orpheus. There's going to be 36, 35, 37 people or 39 people. And then you'll hear music with just the quartet, a live recording that we did at the Barbicane.
In London, yeah.
Just recently. In fact, that's the last time we did. And I'm not here to... I'm talking about surprise. You don't get a record with a comic book.
But I'm curious, you were meeting some scientist.
Oh, yes.
So there was some inspiration there.
Oh, yes, the scientists, they talked about at Stanford, they were talking about the collider in Switzerland, in CERN, Switzerland, which when they finished their experiment, initial experiment, it's not really finished. The data that they found was that there's no such thing as a Big Bang. It didn't start with a Big Bang. They had found a glimpse of something before the Big Bang. So they refer to this event as an unfolding, and they're seeing that there are laws that exist there that have nothing to do with our gravity, inertia, and stuff like that. But this dark matter business, and I just heard recently now that our galaxy is supposed to have a center as a black hole. I'm hearing recently that there is no black hole there.
So all this fear.
Yeah, and if you go into such a
All this fear that they have been feeding us with about the black hole, it was not true.
Right, but another thing is, I know Dr. Stephen Hawking was actually 6 months with his assistant talking about the actual black hole. Is if you were immersed in a black hole, you would be actually, they said it flat like this, you will be neither living nor dead. And there's another thing, Herbie Hancock and I talk about this stuff all the time, about places where time goes backwards and all kinds of stuff.
That's what I'm thinking you would like.
Unlimited perception of life instead of a limited one. That's what I'm getting at.
Everything is happening at the same time.
Mm-hmm. At the same crime.
So I'm curious, from my perspective, that is probably more narrow than yours. Jazz composition is often a frame with a purpose that the musicians should stretch it and play with it and try to go beyond it and look what is outside the box. It's a vehicle to go to the unknown. But on the other hand, compositions in classical music are frames with many details, and like it contains imaginary architecture that you should be built and to explore. How do you do this fusion? How do you synthesize jazz and the classical composition?
Well, first you get rid of the names, and you look at interaction in human life. And when Beethoven wrote the Eroica, and then Chopin was prompted by his teacher to do the impromptu, he said, "Stop doing all this cafe music, and it's Napoleon's coming, man, come on." And you said something, you said your vision of life is more narrow than mine. That's not true.
But maybe my vision of music.
No. This thing called enlightenment exists everywhere, but it's like when I look at you, you have all the keys, which I don't know about, the keys to everything which is unending. And even if you say, I don't know as much about this physics and everything as someone else, here's what's been happening. We got a telephone call from Neil deGrasse Tyson and the people from Stanford. Herbie, and those, you know about thorium? Thorium is that material, element that in its a certain state, you can put it in a car, and the car would run for 20 years without any other fuel. They're talking about this now in the same terms, in the same way they talk about who owns the moon. So everyone's afraid to make a declaration. They have to work together on stuff like that.
Yeah, we have to
They
step
want to
up.
like water it down. Maybe we can water it down and make it more, you know, make it more feasible for the Congo. And you know what I mean? Let's talk this one over. They're writing about it now. They're going to make a movie and stuff. But there's other elements too that, you know, like in the United States, why go to the moon? Why do we go to the stars? Why? And it's Neil deGrasse Tyson looked at a person's shoes and let me see your shoes. Oh, some of this material was discovered on the moon. Let me see your glasses. Oh, the lens, your eyeglasses, the material that transcended the Hubble telescope is in your eyeglasses. People say, we have to get our own neighborhoods together. Why go way out there? He said, no, we're not going out there. We're already out there.
Yeah, we're all aliens.
On this spaceship.
I know that you and your friend, Mr. Hancock, you wrote an open letter to, you composed this letter for the next generation of artists. Can you please tell us what you want to communicate with this letter?
I guess maybe in not a nutshell, but one of the things that stood out to me in that letter is when we think about ego, wanting this and wanting that and wanting to do better than this and better than that person, if we could just entertain the thought of having our ego serve us rather than we serving our ego, that's a creative process right there. Surprise.
So that's not only for the next generation of artists. I think it's for every person. It's a very generous gift from you and Mr. Hancock.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you. It was so great that everybody joined up and was, bringing all your energy into this moment. Thank you. And congratulations to the Polar Prize 2017.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.